The Blind Tony Story. Book 4, Chapter 2. Apollonia moved in with me, and life was good. She was truly a breath of fresh air to every aspect of my life. She exuded light and purity. She liked to wear these long, flowing African gowns and no makeup. She didn't need any. And she sported a huge afro hairdo that perfectly framed her beautiful face. I was most definitely in love. Lemuel had his girlfriend and his ex-wife. Corey had his girlfriend. And while Lemuel's girlfriend and ex-wife were rarely seen, and Corey's girlfriend was never seen, Apollonia was always seen. She and I were always together. She was just like part of the crew. We all called her A.T. She didn't smoke or drink. She tried it, but she didn't like it, and she definitely didn't need it. She was also never a party to our illegal activities, though she did feel the weight of the tension. I was becoming a very intense, or rather tense person. The life of crime was slowly taking a toll on me. I would stay in the house for 2 or 3 days at a time, just watching the news and reading the newspapers and looking out the windows and listening for sirens. And I even slept with a pistol under my pillow.
Portrait.
I was frequently having nightmares. There was one wall in my room that I completely wallpapered with current events, a collage, a montage, a shrine, but it was a lot more. It was an accurate reflection of life in the world. War, poverty, AIDS, addiction, hopelessness, homelessness, God, discovery, love, peace, confusion, struggle, determination, strength, and lots more. Thanks to the photographers from Life magazine, Ebony magazine, National Geographic, and my own photography, as well as many other sources, I was able to capture and accurately reflect and represent the ever-changing world. I was changing also. I was becoming a more distant and more aloof person, especially with my immediate family. I had developed a new hobby, photography, and I had converted the other room on the 3rd floor into a dark room. And I was starting to experiment with different papers and exposure times and developers like D76 and Dectal, and I was becoming quite good, and a lot of my photography ended up on that wall, reflecting the ever-changing world. My sister Pat had a new boyfriend now. His name was Otis, and he drove trucks for the Seashore Produce Company. And he would stop off for a beer after work at the Gramercy Grill. My other sister Kim also frequently went to the Gramercy Grill, and I used to meet her there sometimes so we could talk outside of her friend's house, a man she had moved in with named Cornelius at this point. Anyway, I caught Otis trying to hit on my sister Kim while he was dating my sister Pat, and I confronted him about it. I told him that he wasn't going to play my sisters, and that if he ever hurt my sister Pat, there was going to be a problem. From that day on, our relationship was strained, to say the least, and it always contained an undercurrent of mistrust. I also caught him several times speaking abusively to my nephew Keith when Pat wasn't around, and we had several verbal exchanges that eventually escalated into a physical confrontation. Wow. I had to leave that alone. I had tears in my eyes. God has a way of working things out. My sister sided with him, and eventually they got married. And I never saw him mistreat her. And then, believe me, I watched. My sister Kim made me promise never to tell Pat that Otis had tried to hit on her. And I never did, at least not until the writing of this book. Now I'm sure she knows all about it because she helped edit this book. The power of my sister's love, though, to transform Otis was amazing. He stopped going to bars completely. And I also have to confess that she was probably the best thing that ever happened to his entire life. And she, on the other hand, was probably the best thing that happened to his life. He, on the other hand, was the best thing that happened to her life. That's what I meant. God eventually gave me the opportunity to apologize to Otis. More on that later, but now let's get back to the story. We were preparing for a pretty big score, and it was the weekend and also the first of the month, and an armored car was due to pick up the receipts from a mall at closing time, and we were going to take it all. We had rehearsed for this for months and weeks before the date came. I had been unable to eat or sleep for several days due to my nerves. I always got nervous before a job. But once the ski mask got pulled down, an eerie calm would descend on me. The armored car usually took 6 minutes from the time it picked up the money to the time it would drop it all off. And we were carefully hidden in the bushes all around the drop point. The plan was very simple. But 3 minutes before the drop was to occur and the truck was due to arrive, Rob came out of the bushes and pulled up his ski mask and said he couldn't do it. There was no time to argue. Lemuel called an instant abort, and we all fled to the getaway car, which was hidden around the back. And just as we exited the driveway, the armored car pulled into the driveway. Wow, that was real scary and close. Lemuel drove us back to Atlantic City, all the way uptown to the seawall. Now, this was the place where we would throw all the incriminating evidence and non-negotiables into the sea. But this time, the non-negotiables was going to be Rob. Lemuel was preaching about the necessity of us having to kill Rob because he had jeopardized everybody's life as well as the mission. Corey, on the other hand, disagreed, and my vote would be the deciding vote. I pulled out both of my guns and said I had just eaten some sweet potato pie earlier that day at Rob's house that his mother had made especially for me, and I would have no part in his killing. He was definitely not my enemy. And I told them that if they wanted to do something else or they had another objective that they wanted to challenge, I would be definitely willing to participate. But Rob was not my enemy. He was just burnt out. And then I started crying. I started crying because we were no longer revolutionaries. We were bandits. Self-centered drug addicts. We had changed from Robin Hood into Pancho Villa, and then from Pancho Villa into Clyde Burrows. And we were going to get killed very soon. The writing was on the wall. It was just a statistical reality. And then I told them that I know we weren't supposed to quit, but I was quitting anyway. And if anybody had a problem with it, they should speak up right now. Wow, a deep silence ensued in the car. I was having a meltdown. 2 guns in my hands, tears running down my eyes, talking loud and crazy. Lemuel was driving. He looked in the rearview mirror and saw my tears. And he turned around and saw the guns. And then he just started laughing. Laughed that only he could laugh. And he said, "Boy, you're crazy. Stark, raving mad." And that's why I love you so much. Then all the tension was suddenly broken, and everybody in the car was laughing. We smoked a joint or two, dropped Rob off at his mother's house. I never saw him ever again. I don't know if they killed him or not, or whether he just left town. But anyway, Corey, Lemuel, and I remained very close, although everything suddenly changed.